Hi everyone, I'm Steve Perry. I'm Business Development Manager at BP Collins. I'm joined today by Simon Carroll, one of our senior litigators in our dispute resolution team. He's had a busy week or so appearing on various sort of webinars with Bucks Business First, Thames Valley Chamber, and yesterday on the Talk at 10 with the West London Business. So you've had a really good conversation with a number of people. But today we wanted to focus on contracts in particular and dealing with the uncertainty of those. We've had plenty of questions, and I'm sure Simon has as well. And we'll just cover off sort of 4 or 5 of those now. So Simon, looking at the landscape today, obviously we've had a big change in how we work, and we're all at home right now. But how does this sort of differ over the last year, and in particular for the commercial clients?
Hi, Steve. Well, it's certainly a novel situation for, I think, many commercial operators, particularly with the scale of government intervention as it affects the workforce. I think with probably limited exception, it seems to be being felt across quite a wide range of sectors. And in that sense, it's probably more of an unusual feature when compared to past recessions or periods of difficulty. And I think with that, we've seen many businesses, some quite frantically, trying to get on top of the new incentives, new government changes, and some understandable uncertainty from business owners, I think many of whom are looking ahead, and they're trying to balance uncertain pipeline with known expenditure. So in that sense, it's different. But equally, there are also some who we're seeing who are very opportunistic, actively looking at using the uncertainty to negotiate or I suppose renegotiate contracts, or indeed exit altogether. And in that sense, it's really a question of taking advantage of the commercial situation.
There's been a lot of media reports of businesses obviously going into insolvency. Do you see these sorts of opportune moves as a positive sign?
Well, I suppose it's difficult to assess motive, and it really depends on the circumstances. In some case, we might be thinking about opportunistic businesses looking to take a commercial advantage, but equally, we might be looking at businesses who are looking to get out or renegotiate because they really have to. And now, I think it's certainly a difficult time for many businesses, but it's often said that difficult conditions create opportunity, and I think that's certainly right.
Yeah. Do you have any comments for businesses who are in that position right now?
Well, we've heard quite a lot in the media about force majeure and frustration, and I suppose these might well be relevant when we're looking at exiting contractual deals. But I think probably caution is key, first of all. So often we see disputes over deals where a solid contract has been sort of put into the frame at the outset. Might be for a development product or IT services or sales structures, whatever. But the document's quickly put in the drawer and forgotten. And I think whether we're looking at negotiation, renegotiation, or an exit, it might sound basic, but really look at the contract first. How does one give notice practically? Is there an obvious right to terminate we can rely on? These sorts of very, very simple practicalities can have quite a significant impact later on. And I suppose equally, if the contract has sat in the drawer and performance over the last, say, 18 months, 2 years now looks really quite different from what was agreed at the outset, where does that leave things? Does it affect the risk profile? I mean, it probably does.
Yeah, you mentioned risk there. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, for an example, if we're ending the contract without risk of liability, then that might be achieved if there are clear terms that allow that in the agreement. If a business can exit an agreement without undue risk, and I suppose by risk we're talking about the risk of a claim in damages for breaching the contract, it's likely to be a tool that directors can readily look at to deploy strategically to suit the business's needs. But the difficulty is, in practice, it's not always that straightforward. It might be uncertainty over what the terms mean, or disputes that crop up along the way. Sometimes it's a complete lack of terms, or, as I say earlier, a departure from the way the contract intended the deal to run. All those things increase the chances of an argument over the validity of termination, and that increases the risk of liability and costs. I think these sorts of factors need to weigh into decisions before action is taken. And speaking from experience, so often they're not. Particularly because if we're renegotiating, they'll be used against you. And if you're terminating without knowing what those risks are, then efforts to save money or to take hold of opportunity can quickly turn into quite significant claims and damages, all of which are possibly avoidable.
So what advice would you give to businesses looking at these options?
Well, I suppose first and foremost, look at the contract. Really do the due diligence. If there isn't a contract, or if things have changed, as they often do, then take advice. It might mean some time or some investment, but it's all a cost-benefit analysis. And from my perspective, investing in a thought-out strategy early on, so often I see saving significant costs later down the line. And I suppose there's another element to all this, which is for directors of businesses who are on the cusp of financial difficulty. When creditor interests start to come into play, getting third-party advice can be crucial to help ensure that there's, I suppose, there's a ready trial for the steps that need to be taken should things not turn out as intended.
Thank you, Simon. That was really insightful. We hope you found that useful too. Please get in touch with Simon or any of the team should you want to discuss anything covered. And obviously stay safe, and we'll see you soon.